Position, Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, can I associate myself with the Minister's remarks about Heaton Park Synagogue? And can I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for all the work that you've done on the security of members? No one has worked harder to protect the integrity of our Parliament. Mr. Speaker, the Security Minister, or Madam Deputy Speaker, I should say, the Security Minister is very well regarded. So I'm sorry to see him sent here again, making these arguments which will not wash. This is about the ineptitude of the government, and I cannot accept much of what he says. He's brought some updates to the House, which we acknowledge, but in essence, China spied on this Parliament and they're issuing us with leaflets. This is not good enough. Mr. Speaker, there are members here today who have been spied on by China, who are sanctioned by China. Even the Deputy Speaker has been sanctioned. All MPs speaking today should be acting in the national interest, nothing else. Let's remind ourselves of what's happened. 2 men have been accused of spying on MPs in this very building. The CPS had what it felt was a clear and compelling case to prosecute. But the trial has collapsed because for months and months, the government has been refusing to give the CPS vital information. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This looks like a deliberate decision to collapse the case and curry favour with the regime in China. And instead of admitting this, the Security Minister has come here blaming the Official Secrets Act. But we know that the Act was enough to prosecute this case. Its deficiencies had nothing to do with the government's failures. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, may I remind the House how serious this is? If the government does not prosecute those who spy on us, it sends a message to the public that the government does not care about their safety. It sends a message to our allies who share intelligence with us that Britain cannot be trusted. And it sends a message to those who spy on us that they can get away with it. Let's look at the facts. First, the government blamed the CPS. The minister came to the House on the 15th of September. He claimed that he had only become aware of this decision that day and that the CPS decision had been an entirely independent one. He repeats that assertion today. He said, "I am not able to talk about why the CPS has decided to make this decision." He said it was not for him to speculate on the reasons. He told the member for Rutland to seek a meeting if she wanted to find out the reasons. But we now know, despite all he has just said, that the trial collapsed because the government refused to give the CPS what it needed, and the minister knew full well why it had collapsed. Because the Director of Public Prosecution has said he spent months trying to get the government to provide the evidence it needed. Second, they tried blaming the previous government. Just like the Prime Minister, the Minister claims the CPS couldn't prosecute because the last government didn't describe China as a threat. I cannot believe that he would actually say that. He knows what we said. He knows. Let me remind him, Madam Deputy Speaker. For starters, the 2021 Integrated Review described China as, listen carefully, the biggest state-based threat to the UK's economic security. The 2023 Integrated Review refresh said China posed, let's listen carefully, a threat several times. In 2024, the then Minister for Security said from that dispatch box that China poses a serious threat. But even if the last government had not said China was a threat, and it did, the government only needed to convince a jury that it was a threat. And he knows that. I am astonished that the minister has repeated this nonsense today. The minister and the Prime Minister's argument on this has been refuted by no less than a former DPP, 2 former cabinet secretaries, 1 a former national security advisor, refuted by 2 former heads of MI6, and a professor of public law at the University of Cambridge who said today that minister's statements so far are misleading about the legal position. They are all clear that these people could have been prosecuted under the old legislation. Is it the government's position that they are all wrong and they're right? Madam Deputy Speaker, the minister references Crown versus Rousseff. That case last year he refers to in his statement made it easier to prosecute, not harder. And as the former Director of Public Prosecution says, recruiting people to spy on MPs of itself clearly constitutes a threat to national security. Only this government could mess that up. Madam Deputy Speaker, we know that the National Security Advisor, Jonathan Powell, has a very close relationship with China. Are we supposed to believe that he was not involved in the substance of the case and discussions around that, as they say? What does that even mean? He was in those meetings acting in the name of the Prime Minister. Do they really expect us to believe that he never mentioned to the Prime Minister any of this at any point? Madam Deputy Speaker, we know from the CPS that they spent months and months asking the government for evidence they needed. The government says it was not the NSA who took the decision not to give it to them. So who was it? Who made that decision? Can the Minister answer that today? Is it seriously the government's argument that no minister knew anything about this until the trial collapsed? If this is the case, it is astonishing. But my suspicion, Madam Deputy Speaker, is that it is not the case. My suspicion is that ministers did know. They have the Chinese super embassy in their in tray. They have £1 billion compensation they're allegedly being asked to pay for nationalising British Steel. I suspect that they have decided that closer economic ties with China were more important than due process and our national security. And if this is the case, if that was the decision of this government, then they should just tell us that and have the backbone to admit it. They should explain it to the public, they should explain it to the CPS, they should explain it to our international allies and let them all be the judge. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is not going away. There is nowhere to hide. I wrote to the Prime Minister today and I'd like to know when I will get a response to my questions. And we have also written to the CPS to ask if this trial can be reopened if the government finally provides the evidence it's been holding back. We know that the evidence that the CPS needs exists. And if the government decides not to provide it, then we will know it is because this weak Prime Minister does not have the backbone to stand up to Beijing.